Hi everyone. Welcome to week 5 of our Comp 2 class. Hopefully last night you turned in your final draft of Writing Project 1. If you have not done so already, make sure to do that as soon as possible before you lose too many points on it. This week we're going to focus on analyzing a text and brainstorming. I'll say at the top of this video, it's probably going to be a little bit longer than some of my normal ones, just because we'll also be taking a look at the Writing Project 2 assignment sheet. Now that you have finished Writing Project 1, it is time to start developing ideas for Writing Project 2, which will require you to spend some time observing and interviewing one or two members of a community or group. You will examine how a specific group of people are working to address a social issue. Your topic may be based on the same social issue as your first project, or it may be based on a completely different social issue. The choice is up to you. For this week, you will practice analyzing a text and develop possible topics for Writing Project 2. Please be sure to carefully review the Writing Project 2 assignment sheet, which can be found under Writing Projects and Rubrics on the main menu over here to the left. Writing Project 2 is a multi-genre essay, which will require you to write a total of 3 pieces of writing, an analytical essay and 2 genre pieces. That's actually maybe worded a little bit misleadingly. There's really kind of 5 components to this essay, but we'll get to that when I go over the assignment sheet. The analytical essay portion of Writing Project 2 introduces your group, explains how it is engaging with the social issue, and judges the effectiveness of the group's actions based on 2 news stories about how other groups are engaging with the same issue. For example, you could examine how the staff at a restaurant handles underage drinking or inebriated customers. Then you would compare the actions of that staff with the actions of 2 other groups dealing with a similar social issue. You would find those other groups by searching the Columbus State Library research databases for news articles on the topic from newspapers and magazines. This is a fairly standard type of news story. Any day you might come across news articles with headlines like, "Should all bars have breathalyzer machines?" Which explain how a group is dealing with a particular social issue. For Writing Project 2, you would need to judge whether the local restaurant staff was doing a good job handling these issues or whether they could improve in some way. Let's say in this example, the local restaurant uses the eyeball test to determine how intoxicated a patron is before they leave. You would need to determine whether installing a breathalyzer would be a more effective way to ensure that the restaurant is not allowing guests to drive off into the night while drunk. You would also need to consider the differences between a bar and a restaurant. Is this new service really worth it to a business whose main source of income is not alcohol, unlike a bar? For your 2 genre pieces, you'll take the information you collected via your observations and interviews to create artifacts that represent your views on the actions of the group you observed and or the topic in general. What is a genre? A genre is a specific type of work, such as a letter, an advertisement, a film, a poster, a short story, a novel, and so on and so forth. There are lots of different genres. You will need to select 2 genres in which to compose for this essay. For example, you could create a newspaper for a charitable organization, a poster for an advertising campaign, an editorial written to a newspaper, etc. The idea is for you to use your creativity to construct interesting written and or visual texts that complement your analytical essay. Outside materials, such as photos found online, should not be used without prior permission. This week, you will need to brainstorm some possible topics in groups which you can actively observe over the next few weeks and conduct an online search to help you better understand what a multi-genre essay is and how you might develop your own as a part of this project. To assist with some of the things that you're doing this week, you should take a look at these readings. We also have a video here that provides a really nice introduction to writing project 2. I would definitely make sure to watch this. Task 3 is to take a look at the assignment sheet. We're going to go ahead and do that now. So, writing project 2 is a critical analysis. You can also call it a multi-genre essay. It is a medium-length, creatively written analysis of how a community or group addresses a social issue. Genre choice can have a surprising effect on the mood and message of your writing. For this assignment, you'll need to complete a mix of primary research, interviews, personal testimony, observations, and secondary research from newspaper and magazine articles as you create multiple short pieces. One of those short pieces is a formal report focused on analyzing a group's actions based on news reports of other similar groups. The other two are creative writing pieces whose topic and form you get to choose. You may continue to use the same social issue from writing project 1, or if you'd like, you can choose a new one. Since part of this assignment requires that you observe, interview, or provide direct testimony, you must be able to directly connect with your chosen community or group. Your group should fit within one of the following categories. You might be able to select a community or group based on the place that you work, your neighborhood, a community group, a recreational group, a local gathering spot, or even a virtual group. I will say that since there is still a pandemic going on, it would probably be best if when you do your primary research that you still maintain social distancing, that you wear a mask, and probably if you're going to conduct interviews, it would be best to do those over Zoom or some other type of video chatting service to limit your risk of exposure. Here we have a description of the assignment process. You're going to brainstorm some topics. You're going to conduct some primary research. Each of you should plan to visit the community or group being examined and take detailed notes on interactions in this space. If you plan to conduct interviews, think about whom you should interview and what questions should be asked. Prepare to ask additional questions beyond the ones you have ready as you interview your subjects. Secondary research, you must use 2 and only 2 newspaper, magazine, or journal articles found via the Columbus State Research databases. I would ideally like you to find your sources through the Columbus State Research databases just because I think it's good to know how to use those resources, but you are also welcome to use just Google as well, as long as the sources that you are finding are credible. Let's see here. You're going to be looking for articles about groups similar to your own, which are also dealing about similar social issues. For example, if you're observing members of a church group that work with alcoholics, you would need to find articles about other charitable groups working with people who have drinking or drug abuse problems. If you spend an hour or two researching a topic and you can't find articles on it that seem helpful or relevant to what you are trying to do, that might be a sign that you need to pick a new topic. For the analytical essay portion of this assignment, you're going to introduce the selected community or group, explain the scope of the social issue, and analyze the group's actions using the articles you found as a lens to critically examine your group's actions. What do I mean by lens? I mean you need to view and judge your group's actions through the actions of the other groups you found out about during your research. Due to that, you need to make sure that the group you observed and the groups you discussed in your 2 sources have similar qualities. You might think you can't compare a religious group's food drive to a cycling club's bike for food event, but they are both food-related charities, and you may be able to find criteria you could use to compare them, such as the total food donated versus food bought. It's your responsibility to find criteria that will allow you to judge the effectiveness or ineffectiveness of your group's actions. In the concluding paragraph of your essay, you will need to state your judgment in a thesis statement. Genre selection. After observing and or interviewing your group, you need to choose two genres that you think fit with your overall topic, such as a recipe for a food-related social issue, and then use those genres to draft creatively written pieces that demonstrate your view of the group's actions. For example, if the food bank simply didn't seem to be effectively soliciting donations, you might author a recipe, How Not to Feed the Hungry, that lists all the ingredients and steps needed to not meet the goal of collecting donations for the needy. Conducting your primary research. When observing, interviewing, or surveying your groups, you should attempt to find answers to at least the following questions. Is the group actively engaging with the social issue, or do they seem to be ignoring it? If the group is actively engaged, what is the group doing to address the issue? Why did the group decide to address the issue? What more could the group be doing? Why isn't the group taking those steps? How does the group plan to improve their efforts? What limitations, finances, volunteers, resources, etc., does the group face in addressing the issue? Does the group think it is effectively addressing the issue? And finally, in your opinion, is the group effective in addressing the issue? Next, the multi-genre essay construction. Your paper should begin with the analytical portion. It should be approximately 750 words. We have an outline here of what that essay should do. Following the essay, you need to author two genre pieces. Each should be approximately 300 words, and they need to represent your personal view on the effectiveness of the community or group's response to the social issue. You could write a story, create a comic strip, write and perform an original song, write a one-act play. Lots of options here available to you. After each of the genre pieces, you need to include reader notes, which will be approximately 100 words each, that explain what the preceding genre piece is and how it represents your judgment of your group's effectiveness. Sometimes it's not always clear just by looking at the genre pieces what exactly they are supposed to accomplish or who the audience is. So these short reader notes give your reader a way to better understand what you are trying to accomplish. You can think of the reader notes as your justification for your vision. They should lay bare the ideas behind your creative expression. While the genre pieces can be formatted as needed, the analytical essay must use correct MLA formatting. Your writing needs to be properly edited. You should participate in online peer reviews, use the Writing Center, use self-editing, etc. Down at the bottom of this document, we have a whole bunch of different genre possibilities for you to choose from. This list is not exhaustive. You are welcome to choose something that is not listed here. And then finally, we have some of the more nitty-gritty details. This paper is worth 20% of your grade. It needs to be a minimum of 1,250 words, not including your heading, title, and works cited page. It needs to be drafted following MLA guidelines. You must fully complete the week 9, 8, and 9 discussion board peer reviews in order to receive feedback from me on your final draft. All right, I know that's a lot of information, kind of a busy week, lots to go over. Let's jump back to our weekly module. Task 4 is analyzing America's culture wars. For this, you should read Chapter 11, Analyzing Texts, in the field guide. And following up on that reading, read How Soccer Explains the American Culture Wars, which is linked in Task 1. Once you have done that, I would like you to write... Let's see, I'm going to try to find a way to minimize the intrusiveness of that little bar there. Next, you're going to write a one-page analysis of American culture following the directions in the prompt below. The author of How Soccer Explains the American Culture Wars, Foer, uses soccer to point out differences in American culture. During his childhood, Foer says middle and upper class parents viewed soccer as a means to build their child's self-esteem with participation trophies and teach life lessons while minimizing the risk of injury. Foer also cites surveys which indicate that, unlike the rest of the world where soccer is the sport of the working class, in America, middle and upper class households are more dedicated to the sport. Foer suggests that this trend of wealthier families being more receptive to soccer is connected to how Americans view the promise or threat of globalization, with those more open to outside ideas being more accepting of soccer. Following Foer's model, I'd like you to write a one-page analysis of American culture using a pastime that you enjoy. It could be sports, a type of film, music, any sort of pastime or hobby. And you're going to use that pastime or hobby as a lens, just like Foer does, to examine our culture. What does America's love or hate for this pastime say to you about how America views outside influences and cultures? I'd like you to end your analysis with a judgment that clearly indicates whether the fans and performers of the pastime are accepting of globalization. Note that in this analysis, you're required to make a judgment about something using a lens. You were broadly asked to analyze a pastime and judge whether our reaction to that pastime demonstrates an openness to globalization or not. However, you individually need to come up with the criteria you use to make that judgment. And this is similar to what you're going to be doing in Writing Project 2. Writing Project 2, you're asked to analyze your group's effectiveness using 2 news articles on similar groups as lenses to examine your group members' actions. It's up to you to determine what criteria you use to make that judgment. If you are writing about a group which collects winter coats for the needy in your area, you might judge the group's effectiveness by how many coats they collect, how many people they serve, how engaged the members are, or some other criterion. Think about your plans for Writing Project 2 and consider what criteria you'll use to make your judgment. If you have any questions, make sure to contact me. Getting close to the end here. Task 5 is posting to the discussion board. For this assignment, you should come up with some ideas about what group you will observe and how you will construct your essay. Before doing any of this, make sure that you've reviewed all of the materials that we've gone over so far. Remember that you're creating 5 pieces, an analytical essay, 2 genre pieces, and 2 reader notes. Your first post this week is due Thursday by 11:59. Post a URL to one website/article discussing multi-genre or multimodal assignments, which you found useful, and explained how that website or article helped you better understand the concept of a multi-genre essay. To earn credit for this portion of the assignment, you must post an original source. Check earlier posts to ensure you are not duplicating another student's response. Once you understand the concept of a multi-genre essay, and make sure to email me if you are confused, post 2 or 3 possible ideas you have developed for Writing Project 2. Explain what social issue you will be examining, how you are connected to each community or group, how you expect to observe/interview the community or group members, what genre pieces you might create, and how those genre pieces tie into your overall topic. For your reply posts, which are due on Saturday, look over the ideas posted by your peers and comment on 2 of them by offering any insights you have about their social issue, their community or group, their observation and interview ideas, and their genre piece construction. That is all for this week. Make sure that you submit all of the writing you completed for task 4 here. My hope is to begin grading your papers towards the middle of this week. I'm hoping to start grading around Wednesday or Thursday. It may take me a couple of weeks to get those grades back to you, depending on how many papers I have to grade for all of my classes. But I will definitely get you back those grades within 2 weeks. If you have any questions or concerns, you want to run any ideas past me, be sure to let me know, and have a good week.